To start us off, you play Joe in the all-new coming-of-age thriller, The Giant. Such a fantastic film, so intense, really, really cool. I love the way it was filmed. To start us off, just tell me a little bit about Joe and his character. How would you describe him in your own words?
Well, the story follows Odessa Young's character, Charlotte. Sorry, I'm just going to hide my own view.
Yeah, go for it.
Wait, sorry, one second. Here we go. There we go. All right, much better.
Yeah.
So the story follows Odessa Young's character, Charlotte, the summer after she graduates high school, and her ex-boyfriend shows up after having gone missing for about a year. And around the time he reappears, some strange and kind of sinister things begin happening around the town. And one of the things that was really attractive about the part was that there was a great deal of ambiguity on the page. And so David, the director and writer, David Rayboy, he and I did a lot of chatting about Joe and what his background was and where he came from and what his relationship with Charlotte was. And but I guess he's in this story, he's a bit of an antagonist. He's a bit of his reappearance is a real catalyst, and it's very confronting for Charlotte. She's grieving the loss of her mother recently, and it's very it kind of peels back a lot of layers for her, and it exposes a lot of raw nerves emotionally as well as externally in the coincidental or not coincidental timing of these strange things happening upon his return.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about those conversations you had with David about Joe's character. I think that's so cool.
It was I don't want to be too indiscreet. David talked about certain things that were based, like he took certain things from his own life when he was growing up, and so I think we wanted to really be like take Joe's story really seriously. And I think there are kind of two parallel narratives that take place depending on how you watch the film. There's this idea that the delusions that Joe is grappling with are real, and there's a real supernatural element to the film, or that they're a product of his own illness that he's struggling with. And so we wanted to be, to approach the role with a great deal of respect and consideration. But it was a really wonderful experience to get to mine a relationship with an actress like Odessa Young, and with a director who's really very open, very game, like David. And so it was really rewarding to be able to go to work and have a whole lot to unpack and a whole lot to work with in that sense. And visually, David has such a particular palette, and Eric, our director of photography, really brought a strong visual language to the film that I think really captured we shot in Georgia in the middle of the summer, and so really captured that sense of heat and the closeness of the weather there. It feels like claustrophobic at times.
I love that. Was a fantastic answer. I
Oh,
really love
nice.
that. Now, Joe's character is obviously a very unique one for so many different reasons. It's a unique project, a unique character. Without giving too much away, he sort of kind of exists within the other characters' heads.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about what it was like channeling that energy. Like, how did you prepare for the role?
It was interesting. A lot of that, I think I was aware that, like, okay, a lot of that's going to be done in the way it's shot and in the way it's edited. Because I think, again, I don't want to give too much away, but I'm going to throw some spoilers in here just
Go for
because, and
it.
maybe you can but yeah, like Joe only interacts with Charlotte. And so I think there's another kind of thread in the film where he's he exists only in her mind, and it's a symptom of her coming to terms with this new chapter in her life that she's embarking on, and this old chapter that she's leaving behind. And so I knew that a lot of that was going to be down to the edit and down to the way it was shot. but I thought, the approach was really, whether he is only real to Charlotte or not, he is real to her. And so he's a real guy. He's a three-dimensional guy. And we wanted to approach it the way you'd approach any other character. But one thing we did, he's been living rough, Joe, for the past year. And so I had this idea. I don't know if you see very much of it in the movie. I think maybe one or two shots you do. But, we knew he was living rough. We knew he was probably just like living in his car. And I said to David, I was like, what if he's got these like really long, dirty fingernails? Like, what if his hands are really dirty? Like, we wanted his hands to tell a story. And so I regretted it very shortly after, but like leading into the movie, I was like, why don't I just like not cut my fingernails for a few months before we do it, and kind of just like have let my hair grow and all this stuff. And he was like, I love it. That's great. And then like a month into it, it was just very, it was a little tricky kind of walking around and going to, and our makeup team was so cool on it, but they would really get in there with like the dirt and all this stuff. And so then going to like the grocery store the next day after a day of filming was a little bit, had some explaining to do, but yeah.
I really love that, and I love the way he kind of let you guys have that influence. I feel like that creates such a special story. How did this project, what was the contrast like between this project versus others that you've done? Was it really different, or have you worked on something kind of similar?
It was, the script itself was so, like it felt experimental in reading it. And that was really exciting to me. I knew David his vision and the way he would realize it was going to be, some scripts you read and it's like, great, this is the blueprint. Now we just got to go build the architecture. But it's all there in this piece of paper, or this collection of papers. Whereas with this, it really felt like, oh, this could go in a million different directions. And that was really exciting to me. And then meeting with David, I think we Skyped, that was like our first meeting was on Skype. And he's not much older than me. I think he's only like a year or two older than me. And it was the first time I'd ever worked with someone who was like kind of my age, like as a director who was like kind of my age, which felt cool and validating, and he was very open to our input. And that was kind of inspiring, kind of validating. And sometimes you need someone to look to you and go, what do you think we should do? To all of a sudden go, oh, wait a second. Oh, great. Let me offer something. And if it works, then great. And if not, that's cool. We'll do something else. But I found it a very collaborative set. And again, Odessa is just such a fun person to work with and brought so much and was so available the whole time. But yeah, those things were pretty different to it. But I I kind of grew up on indie movies, and I love that stuff. It feels like, I think for a lot of us, like that's kind of what we grew up on.
Yeah.
And it was a really nice opportunity to be in something that I knew was like, oh, cool, I'm a construct in this thing that this director's building. And that was very fun.
I can imagine, absolutely. Yeah. Building off of that from like a character perspective, how was Joe a different character from characters you've played before? How was he kind of that stretch or that challenge?
I think there was a big part of the character was the ambiguity and the mystery around him. And so a lot of that was left open-ended on the page. And so myself, David, Odessa and I spent time developing a backstory, developing a history between these two characters so that it really felt lived in and that it felt real, and that just because it's not explicit on the page, you want it to feel implicit when you watch it on the screen. You want it to feel lived in, you want it to feel real. It was important for me to, as in anything, make specific choices and try and breathe some life into this guy, even though kind of the point is that it's supposed to be a little mysterious, but he's, that's for the audience to sit with. And that's for the director to create. When you're approaching something, you do have a lot of decisions to make, and you do want it to feel keep coming back to this phrase or this word, lived in. And so I think one of the things that was different was just there was a lot of room to fill in those blanks. Like it was, some jobs you have like a rough framework of, okay, who this character is, where they've come from, where they're going. Whereas in this, it was really like, oh, you kind of have free reign to fill in the blanks and to color in who this guy is and where he's been and where he's come from and what he wants. And yeah, it's a lot of the text, a lot of the scenes are like pretty abstract.
Yes,
So we wanted to like pitching a tent or flying a kite, like you need it to be hammered into the ground in order for it to take shape or to take flight. Like it needs to be rooted. And so we I wanted to that was an effort. That was like a challenge and a task that I had set about taking on when this job got the green light.
100%. I love the way you kind of breathed life into this character because, like you
Thank
said, it
you.
was a very abstract character. You did such a fantastic job with that.
Thank
You
you.
and Odessa have such a great dynamic in this film. You guys really play off each other so well. And even though there's kind of an eerie sort of feel to it, you guys kind of really breathe life into your characters. And you do that together, which I really love. What was
I
it like
appreciate
filming with
that.
her? Of course. What was it like filming with her?
It was great. I mean, she's awesome. She's very present, and she's fearless. I mean, she's just a very exciting person to work with. Very generous person to work with. She's it was a blast. Like, it's nice when you work with someone that you become friends with and that you really enjoy going to work with. And we met up in New York a few times. I think we both knew, when you do a low budget film, you don't have pretty much when you do any film, you don't really have a luxury of time, but especially on something low budget where it's, we're all there because we love it. We're all there because we care about the story, because we believe in the story. And you don't have a lot of time. You don't have a lot of rehearsal time. You don't have the luxury of, all right, we'll shoot this scene over 3 nights. It's like, no, we got to shoot the scene tonight because we have 2 other scenes we have to shoot, So we met up in New York a few times before we went to location on Georgia to just have a cup of coffee and just talk about map out a shared history for these 2 characters in their relationships, personally, who they are to one another, when the last time they saw each other was, trying to develop a vocabulary and a shorthand. And it was just a real pleasure to work with her. She's awesome.
You all seem like you're so dedicated to kind of breathing life into these characters and creating a story for them, which I think is one of the main things that makes this movie so unique, and I think that's so beautiful. Do you
Thank
have a
you.
favorite scene or favorite part of the movie that you're most excited for viewers to see?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, the David is so the visuals of the film are so rich. There's such a deep visual style and vision that David had for it, and that Eric executed. There are certain like palettes that I really like a lot, and there's times when we'd watch a scene back, and you're like, oh, I had no idea that's what we were filming. I had no idea that's where the camera was. I had no idea that's where things were going. I don't know. There's a few. I think there's a couple. I found some of the diner stuff really interesting. I like the stuff in the when Odessa and I first see each other in the car, and it's all kind of shot over the shoulder, and you can't really see. You don't really see my face for a while until we like get further into the film, and then when we filmed in the carnival, the fairgrounds, I remember that being very fun. That was a good night. And I think anytime you get to film in an empty carnival, it's like it's gonna make for something. Um,
I could definitely imagine that. Do you have any favorite moments from filming?
um, Favorite moments from filming. I It was really fun. We shot. God, I think all of my stuff was at night. Um, So that's always a particular experience when you're shooting only at night because you're just working nocturnally. And so I it was a couple days before we started filming. David and Odessa and I went out to like this lake near Madison, Georgia, where we were filming, and we just were hanging out and went for a swim, and then we just kind of looked over across the lake and we just saw this massive storm front coming in. And in the summer in the South, it's just the air is a very particular quality, and we just had to hide under this little like picnic overpass while this storm just fucking came out of nowhere. And that was a really fun like send off to the film. It felt like a storm front's coming, you know, we're gonna get on a night schedule and make this movie. It was a short shoot. It was definitely like a we're all in shoot, and that was a nice kind of harbinger and like tip of the cap of like I think we all knew like all right, we're ready to go. Let's do it. So that was a good memory.
That's really cool, actually. Watching the film back, what was your favorite thing about it?
Probably working with just a really good cast of cool young folks. Just an exciting to work with Madeline Klein and Jack Kilmer and Danny Ramirez and Odessa Young, and it was just a really good, fun, exciting, really nice group of people that and generous and gracious group of people that David assembled. And we, you know, like I said, I don't really have any like screen time with anyone except Odessa, but we're all on location together. We're all hanging out together, and it was it's just fun. It's fun when you do a movie like that, and it feels like you're all away at summer camp. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that this whole film, and especially its characters, leaves a lot up to the viewer's interpretation. How would you say you want viewers to interpret your character, Joe, as a character? What do you want them to take away from him?
That's a good question. I mean, I hope people, I think and I hope that people walk away with a lot more questions about Joe than answers. You know, I think it's a provocative film in that way. And I think it provokes discussion. And yeah, again, there's so many different facets and ways to read a character like Joe. There's a lot of ways to read it just when you look at the page. And I think when you know, as the movie is realized, again, I think there's a lot to walk away and go, wait a second, was he real? Was there something supernatural with it? Was he, you know, a young guy who hit a point in his life and was dealing with some serious personal issues and trying to make sense of things, and you know, I think there's a richness there that is hopefully an audience will have fun exploring after the film.
I really think they will. I sure did.
Nice one, Sydney.
A lot of things, like I said, about the film and the characters are very open and kind of ambiguous, which is fantastic, and it creates for a really unique cinematic experience. What would you say you think personally that the meaning of this film was?
Oh man, it's tough. I mean, the movie is about. It's about change. It's about transition. It's about seeing yourself and confronting yourself at those points in our lives that are those formative turning points in our life. And whether it's, you know, for Odessa and Madeline's characters, they're on the precipice of leaving, of this change, of, you know, that summer after you finish high school is it's a very formative year. It's the end of something, and it's kind of this liminal space between the end of something and the beginning of something else. And in those liminal spaces live a lot of questions, lives a lot of mystery. It's a very provocative and very confronting time and space. And so I think the film is in its own way an exploration of that. Yeah.
Definitely. I can totally see that. I love that.
Nice.
Did you face any challenges while filming? And if you did, what were they?
challenges. I mean, it was, again, I think there was an abstraction in the writing that was a really fun and exciting challenge um, to take hold of and to grapple with um, and to live in and really try and find a tangible kind of clarity, not clarity, but find a tangible direction with. But that was a really fun challenge. All the challenges were really fun. There was no like, there were no unwelcome challenges. I think everything was like, it was every movie's a challenge, every scene is a challenge where you and hopefully they're inspiring and exciting challenges as this was. So yeah.
Absolutely. What's coming up next for you? What can we expect to see of you in the future?
I'm doing a series for FX right now, and so yeah, so we're shooting that. We started shooting that last month, and we will be filming that through next year until like next summer, I think. So,
That sounds great.
yeah.
So excited to hear about that. Thank you so much for joining me today, Ben.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it. You absolutely shined in your role. It was fantastic.
That's really cool of you. Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure to be here
and
a pleasure to chat.
So much.
Nice one.
Hopefully I'll see you again real soon. Bye, Ben.
I look forward to it. Bye. Thank you.